How are you learning all this stuff?
A lot of it I learned in college.
Yeah.
Because I thought I paid attention. Knowing what I know now, I really wish I would have paid attention more.
More,
But
right.
Do you have a mentor? Someone
Yeah,
that
it
knows
was-
way more than you and that you rely on if you...
Even now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've had to.
YouTube?
I mean, obviously, YouTube and Google. I mean, you can look up anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of become a professional off of. I say that lightly, but
If you dig enough down the rabbit hole, you'll find exactly.
Yeah, if you spend your 500 hours learning, you will learn.
Yeah.
We've talked about even like home repair.
Yeah.
We run into a bathroom remodel or some drain is stuck, whatever it may be. You could just. It's 2024, man.
Yeah.
You have access to education. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you want to, if you want to learn the correct way to plumb, it might take you a couple of times on YouTube, but if you watch it and you put it together and. I mean, that's how I learn,
Yeah.
Now, if you say, here's a book, I'll say, well, I guess I don't need to learn that.
Right.
I'm not a reader, but.
What's up, everybody? It's a Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And today, we got another fun episode for you. Today, we're sitting down with Evan Morath, the owner of Morath Welding. Evan, how are you, man?
Good, how about you guys?
Good. You're a busy man, doing all types of stuff, but I appreciate you taking some time to sit down with us and talk about welding, talk about kind of what you've gone through to get where you're at professionally, and a whole bunch of other funny stuff that'll come up. But why don't, if you would, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, Evan.
Born and raised in Monmouth. Grew up here, went to school here. Started a business at 2016, and it kind of just took off from there. I've got a daughter, 12 years old. She'll be 12 on Halloween. And other than that, we just do work around the area, and we're starting to get out of state. So we do keep very busy.
So yeah, and what is the business? Like, what type of welding are you doing? It's Morath Welding, but what does that mean?
So it's just we try to focus on portable repairs in the field, trying to repair issues that you wouldn't be able to take your equipment out of the field. We're 100%. We have the capability to do everything on site. We also do commercial industrial. We do line boring. Pretty much any repair that can't be fixed, shipping the equipment back to the shop and whatnot. So
is that mainly for farmers, or
I would probably say 75% of what we do is ag based, ag related. We do work for a lot of local co-ops. FS, Diamond Ag, Liquid Grow, Nutrien, but then we still take care of the farmers that started us out in 2016. We've been with a lot of guys for a lot of years, but we're rapidly growing. We go over into Iowa. Granted, we're only 30 miles away from the river, but definitely traveling more into Iowa now than we have before.
And for you, like also working with some factories or operations that need to keep going.
Yeah, so we do.
Downtime is costing them money.
Yeah, some of the stuff, whether it be stainless piping, we do some OSHA safety audits. Basically, we go in. We're pretty familiar with the OSHA safety codes on certain things, and people go through, and the safety representative from the company comes through and says, hey, we need this, and this changed, and it's got to be within a timely manner. We go in, we mitigate those issues, and get it up to par. We do quite a bit of beam work. We do mezzanine work, stairways. I mean, it's kind of just whatever they need. So we can do that.
when and what got you into welding in the first place?
Gosh, I mean, it was like industrial arts, or I guess at the time in junior high, it was shop.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my shop teacher, Chuck Pierce. He was a big influence. Great guy, of course. We had just wood shop at the time, but we would talk about welding and stuff. And at that time, I didn't know anything about anything, so he would talk about welding on the farm and whatnot. And he brought in a welder, and we welded a little bit, and it was great. And then I went into high school. Our industrial arts teacher, shop teacher, Lonnie Cargill, we actually got to take a welding course. And from then on, we took the welding course, and of course you took shop, you took small engines, you took the woodworking, electrical and stuff. And that's probably when it really took off. I bought a little welder and threw it in my garage, and I'd weld in the garage on whatever piece of steel I could find, and I'd weld a little bit, and of course blow the breaker in the garage and go back in and reset the breaker, and then they offered a vocational class. It was through Monmouth High School, but it was at Carl Sandburg. So we took that vocational class, and you would take this class, and it would count towards credits toward college, but you would be in there with a college instructor, and I took that it was close to about a year and a half, junior and senior year. And then my instructor at the time, Craig Johnson, great guy, probably one of the biggest reasons why I continued with welding. He was very good, a great instructor, would really motivate his kids to push themselves. You'd bring a weld project up, and you'd be like, "Man, look, Craig, look at this. I did it." And he's like, "That's cool. Go do it left-handed." And he would really push you to be the best and produce the best work that you could. And he would say, he goes, if you would bring a project up, and he'd say, "Well, I wouldn't you welding on my bridges or putting my pipes together or looking like that. Go do it again, do it better." Mm-hmm. And then on, I went back, took the college courses after high school, went back, and in 2000, I'd probably say 11 or 12, I went through the welding program and whatnot, and I got a job at Mid-State Manufacturing. Really good for the fabrication portion of things. Obviously, as you kind of move up the ladder and working with metal and welding and specialty projects and heavier versus lighter projects and stuff, I just continued on from there. And the way I wanted to know more and more and more, and I feel like each job that I had, I kind of had it's hard to get in the field experience without the opportunity to get the experience, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. I remember in sales, I was trying to get in sales right after college, and everyone wanted 3 to 5 years experience of sales. I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to get 3 to 5 years if we can't get in sales? So yeah, same.
And all I did is, I tried not to be the, I guess you could say the job hopper, but I'd stay at each job for a year and a half, 2 years, right on there. But in my mind, I just treated each job like school. So I could work this job. I could learn what I wanted to learn from, usually it's the older guys there that were in the trade for years, and they kind of had to teach me to do my job. And so I treat that like college. Well, I got paid to learn in the real world experience. And then I would hit a point to where, it's kind of boring. I want to move on to the next job. And it worked out great. I don't have, $100,000 and $200,000 debt in school for trying to learn something that, just to be told that I needed more experience,
Sure.
It's kind of a catch-22 there, because, without real world experience, in my opinion, you're not as likely to get, looked at, whether it's an application or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until at the last job that I had worked at before I started my business, there was a company that came in, and they did some work that we do, but it was a little bit bigger job. And I found out how much this company, charged the company I worked for. And I was just in awe, you're talking $40,000-$50,000 for something that did not look, very involved. And I just kind of told myself, I was like, God, why am I not doing this for myself? And so I started the process, and I just basically I went off on my own, and it's worked out great ever since. The one thing though, the downfall of real world experience in just welding that I was looking for, and welding and millwrighting and maybe a touch of electrical here and there, is not once in that time did I ever get taught how to be a businessman. And that's, doing the work is never the problem. It's the business aspect behind it.
That's the
For
hardest
sure.
part.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah, I was a banker for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing we, as bankers, commercial banker, like we would talk about is, like, man, we got guys, concrete guy, right? They can come in and do the best concrete job this side of the Mississippi, but can't balance a checkbook, some can't maybe not bid in the job accurately. It's all a learning curve, and then, making sure you manage your money, you get a good chunk of it maybe up front, and then, you don't handle that appropriately. Well, now you don't have enough to finish the job.
More importantly, handle taxes, understand how
taxes,
tax work, how write-off
insurance.
works.
Yep.
Yeah. So all of that stuff, that's right. That's quite often the hardest part.
When you started the business, were you doing large equipment welding already, like ag, combine, tractors, or you were doing more simple work?
No, a lot of it was, so when I had worked at Midstate, I got into what's called heavy fab, and we used to build these big train cars with like V16 engines in them, and we would build the metal structure, and there was, gosh, I don't know, 500-600 different components to these, and they would come with the blueprint, so you had a blueprint, so basically went from here's a blueprint, put it together, to now you have to not re-engineer, but engineer how you're going to fix this, and so a lot of it ever since then has kind of just been on my own. And I didn't start out welding heavy equipment. I just started, small things, and eventually it got to the point where the equipment got bigger and bigger and more complicated. And on top of that, fixing the equipment anymore isn't even really the challenging part. It's the safety aspect behind it. If I get under this, is this gonna crush me? Or is this gonna, is this gonna hurt me? Or is welding on this, everything has a computer nowadays. Is the electrical current that's going through the frame, is this gonna fry the computer? Is this gonna, you smoke a combine, and that's, it's $1 million.
Right.
Anymore, it's probably more.
Right.
So I had to start learning the safety aspect involved too, and we offer some different services that you can't find around here. We do a lot of what's called rope access. So, you know, a lot of times they'll get a lift to fix like a grain leg and whatnot. Well, we'll just tie off on the highest point of we'll say a grain leg, and we'll actually rappel down, and we'll drop leads in, and we'll fix a patch that you would have to have a lift for, and it would take us 5-6 hours versus buying a lift, having it hauled in, paying the time to have it, paying the shipping for it and whatnot. And that's kind of it's actually a pretty fun part of the job. Because you're just kind of hanging them by a rope, you know, 100 some foot in the air, and it's kind of a relaxing feeling, but at the same time, I think it just, you know, hey, we offer this, and you need this, and you know, you come to an agreement, and I guess that's how I guess we consider what we offer kind of more valuable than just an average, you know, hey, we weld. You know, the guy down the street welds in his garage too. You know, it's but I just for what we offer and whatnot, we try to, if you don't offer something important, then you know, why would people come to you? You know.
Yeah. What do you know about welding?
Nothing. I mean, I know what it is.
That's what I wondered.
And what it does.
So one thing I was thinking, because as I grew up, my grandfather had a trucking company, and like he, you know, especially back in the 80s, 90s, like they would do everything, you know. So they'd have like the big mask. You pull down the big mask and have this like.
My father used to tell me, don't look at the
and I would stare at the whole thing. My grandpa would be like, don't look at this, and he'd pull it down. And I just stare at it, you know, like, what do you mean don't look at why? But, you know, he'd have that little torch and, like, the spark, whatever that thing's called. So you got to dummy this stuff down, man.
Yeah, that sounds like oxyacetylene welding. So a lot of old-time farmers, they used to weld with an oxyacetylene torch. They call it a brazing torch. And I've seen some of these repairs because some people have them laying around their garages and their farm lots that their grandparents fixed. And some of these old guys, I mean, it was just what they had. They would take a brazing torch and they would take a coat hanger, and they would weld front ends of tractors, and they made do with what they had. And it was like it's the most oldest school form of welding. I mean, we wouldn't do that.
You're not pulling up with 20 metal hangers.
Yeah, no. We go to run a Dollar General and grab some hangers.
But what's happening though, right? Is like the high flame, the high heat is melting, whether it's a hanger or the product, but it's melting it and like causing it to like turn it almost like a metal glue.
So you're creating a molten puddle of metal, and then you would dip your consumable, whether it be braze or you know, whatever alloy of steel you're using, you would dip that and you would mix it all together, and it would penetrate into the metal, the base metal, and basically you would bond that metal together. Now there's a huge difference between oxyacetylene welding and MIG welding, TIG welding, stick welding. You know, there's flux core. There's tons of different processes. There's resistance welding, where two pieces just spin at I don't even know how many RPMs, and then they get so hot and they stop, and then they're bonded together. I mean, that's not something that we offer. I mean, that's more of an industrial, you know, manufacturing facility. Yeah, there's tons of different kinds of welding. It just
is there certain metals that like won't, like you can't use this product with this product?
Yeah,
they
so
won't go?
like regular steel and aluminum. Okay, you can't join the two. It's called ferrous and non-ferrous metal. They can't be bonded.
They won't. You could sit there and try, and they'll just.
No.
So what is the ideal thing for you to use if not a hanger? What would be the?
So it depends. When we look at a repair project, we'll say it's an arm on an excavator. You look at it, okay, it's broke. First thing is we need to get it back to where it was. So usually we cut out the spots that we need. Sometimes we'll cut it off and replace it. Sometimes we'll just clean up where it broke and we'll push it back into place. And as long as we can get good measurements off, so we've got it back in place. Some people, they just look at it and like, yep, we're going to stick weld it up. And it's a stick of steel with a cellulose or a low hydrogen coating, and you weld it up and it's welded. I try to look into things a little bit more deeper, more of like what we're welding and what we're welding it with. Like every rod and every consumable or the filler metal, you have to match your filler metal with your base metal. So if this is regular steel, okay, we're okay to weld this with what's called a 7018 low hydrogen. I stop and everything I've ever welded, I've tested myself with like a dye penetrant test. Okay, so it's just you weld something, you cut it in half, you polish it, and then you take an acid and it actually etches the weld difference in the granular structure of the steel. I have dove into that a little further because of when you weld dissimilar metals to know, what's the chemical makeup of my consumable. So you have your elongation properties. Okay, how many percent will this weld stretch before it breaks?
How are you learning all this stuff?
A lot of it I learned in college.
Yeah.
Because I thought I paid attention. Knowing what I know now, I really wish I would have paid attention more.
More.
But
right.
Do you have a mentor? Someone that knows
was
way more than you and that you rely on if you...
Even now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've had to...
YouTube?
I mean, obviously, YouTube and Google. I mean, you can look up anything.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can kind of become a professional off of... I say that lightly, but...
If you dig enough down the rabbit hole, you'll find exactly.
Yeah, if you spend your 500 hours learning, you will learn.
Yeah.
We've talked about even like home repair. We run into a bathroom remodel or some drain is stuck, whatever it may be. You could just. It's 2024, man.
Yeah.
You have access to education.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want to, if you want to learn the correct way to plumb, it might take you a couple of times on YouTube, but if you watch it and you put it together and. I mean, that's how I learn, Yeah. Now, if you say, here's a book, I'll say, well, I guess I don't need to learn that. I'm not a reader, but I mean, that's a lot of information. There's a lot of information out there. Most of it's pretty easy to find. Some of the other things, Instagram. I mean, Instagram works really good. I follow a lot of guys down south that they do this stuff day in, day out, and they're, 40, 50-year-old, businesses plus that have been doing this for years, that have been established. And I mean, some of these people, I've just shot them a message and said, hey, I started my business X amount of years ago. I ran into this issue. Never seen this before. A lot of people, they're pretty receptive and be like, yeah, absolutely, this is how you do it. Some people are like, well, this is our hourly rate, which, is respectable. That's fine. If they learned it and I want to learn it, then I should have to respectably pay something for it,
Sure.
Lucky enough, there's people out there that, they also want to see other people grow and whatnot. But I wouldn't really be a threat to their business. Being down in Texas versus Illinois. But yeah, I mean the from what I've learned, is if you want to know it, then you'll have no problem finding it out. But if you just want it, well, I want to know this, but I don't really want to do that much work to know it, it's not going to come find you.
Do you think about adding a educational arm to your business for you to produce content and help people to learn?
I don't, and it's. I mean, thinking back in 2016, I never thought that I would be here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had people, they come talk to me about this down to like, hey, what kind of welder should I buy? And, you know, they see, well, this is really expensive welder, you know, I think I really want this. No, like, you don't need that.
So you don't need the course.
Yeah, I mean,
the welding 101 or whatever.
No, there is a lot of educational stuff out there.
Okay.
I don't think that I don't think there'd be much benefit just because we're growing so much and getting into so many different things. I don't know if like time wise, I just don't think that it would work.
Okay.
But there for a small while, I taught at a community college. I taught the welding course. Until about 2021, they said I had to get a vaccination, and I said, well, just let me know when my last day is, you know, respectfully. And it was fine, but taught there for about 7-8 months, and it was great. And I really liked teaching those kids, and they wanted to learn. The kids that didn't want to learn, it was kind of natural selection. They, you know, parted ways and went a different, you know, path. But the education, there's so much material out there, and I feel like even looking back when I was my instructor, Craig Johnson, in college, from them to now, the instructors are very much different in some, not all, the holding kids accountable for, hey, you know, you can't just show up and learn this stuff. Mm-hmm. You have to apply yourself. You have to give it an effort. You know, it's however much effort you put in is what you're going to get out of it, you know.
I'd assume most people in the trades, like I remember shop class, stuff like that, the ones who were into it, and you could tell, you know. And then the ones like maybe myself in shop were, like I wish I would have been paying attention, but I wasn't, you know, I was that kid.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm sure, and I feel like in most people, like someone taking a welding class probably has some welding interest, you know, as opposed to like this math class that we all have to take, we'll never use, don't care, you know. So I feel like in those trades types of classes, I think another thing, just my opinion, in the future, I think more of the trades is going to see more of the, maybe more people going in that direction after school as opposed to just going right into college.
Yeah.
That's something I just think, you know, there's so many different trades you can get into, get a job right away, learn, like you were saying earlier, right, you know, through the process and come out of there not with $100,000 of student loan debt.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's a really controversial topic because you get some people that are there. You have to physically go to college to get certain occupations. The trades, you know, you can say if you wanted to run a rig on the pipeline, okay, you wanted to weld in the pipeline. There's a great payout, and you get paid to travel the U.S. and see the nation. I mean, you travel all these different places. You could go to school down in Texas for 8 to 9 months, get your pipe certs, and 9 times out of 10, you start out as a helper. That way, you understand the process and everything. But you know, you could get a rig, and if you get in with the right company after helping for so long, you know, you can go weld pipe. Well, some of these kids are making 100,000 plus a year, more, like straight out of college, and they have like 15 grand in college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, what they make off per diem a month, they could have a brand new camper, a brand new truck, and their per diem would pay for it, not even getting into their actual pay.
Right.
And I mean, I could be off on my numbers a touch, but a lot of people that do that and travel, and you know, it's not a lifestyle for everybody, but I mean, man, you're getting paid to be in a different place, you know, every X amount of months or however long a project is. You know, that's one way to go about it. The other way is go to a community college and learn a trade, whether it's welding or electrician or plumbing or, you know, I couldn't tell you how many times I'd like to know how to work on my AC unit, my heater,
Mm-hmm.
you know, HVAC, you know,
Right.
I'd love, if not, you know, I have to call someone,
Right.
you know, it'd
For
be nice
welding,
to.
do you have to have a certificate? Is there like a certain license or certificate or
So
something?
when you, depending on the college you get out of, they'll give you just a general certificate. The general cert, to me, the general cert says, hey, I showed up to class, I passed my projects. Like I did that portion of it. Or you can go to an accredited testing facility. And so the AWS has different welding codes. Like a D11 is a structural code for stick welding. A D15 is a structural code for bridges. You get into all these welding codes and you test to those codes. That way you have, oh, yep, you know, I took my test, they bent it, it didn't break. You know, I'm certified on this welding code. And they certify you on, you know, you'll weld an inch thick piece, vertical up and overhead. And then they'll cut that piece in portions and they'll bend them. And if they don't break, hey, you passed. You know, you're weld held. If you don't pass, then hey, thanks for your money, try again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just how it works. It's I'm sure there's more tests out there, but when it comes to mine, when you go to pass a weld test, there is no 70%, 80%, like you almost did it, but we'll give you credit for it. You either pass or you don't. And that's, you know, even in the world of, you know, when you weld pipe, usually when you go to a site and you have to test out every place you weld. It's not like, hey, I have this cert, cool, there's the pipe, go weld it. You have to test out there, and they ultrasound them, they x-ray them. I mean, there is not, you can't hide a little pinhole in there, like they're gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is, it's a pass fail. There is no, you got a C-,
Right.
you know, have at it, bud. You know, it's a granite and eye line of work with more of the repair work and whatnot. You clearly tell if it holds up or not. But when you get into more of the industrial, you know, especially the pipe and whatnot, even when you go test out for AWS, American Welding Society, it's a pass fail. There's no, you know, B's and C's and A's. It's either you did it or you didn't.
Right. And this is going to hold up or it won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So that the educational portion, I mean, that's different certificates allow you to do different things, but and every company has their, you know, you can go into Caterpillar or John Deere and do their weld test, and if you pass their weld test, then you're good to weld in their facility. That's how it's called a weld procedure specification, WPS. If you weld out to that WPS, then you're good. You can weld in their facility, and you can, you know, meet their criteria.
See, that's a good thing with the trades too, man. Like you can move anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
Or probably even the world, depending on what you're in, and be able to find a job, you know, be able to get on a crew or you know, get on somewhere, test out somewhere. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of it's, you know, if you go anywhere that has oil, you know, Texas, there's they pay a lot of money for welders.
I bet.
Down there.
What about like deep sea underwater welding? Have you heard of there? That's a job.
Absolutely.
I've heard of that, and it's one of the higher paid jobs. I remember at one point seeing it on a list.
Yeah, it's a so like the deep sea. The way I understand it, and I might have some of my information wrong, but so if you go down so far, then you have to go down in levels, and then you have to come up in levels.
Correct.
So you'll spend, you know, to the decompression chamber, you know, whatever they call them. Yeah, from what I've seen, they make a lot of money, but their life expectancy is like 45, 50. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, you know, how do you, you know, hey,
Well, gosh, I can't imagine. I mean,
made
that's
400 grand this year, but I've got like 10 years to live. So
Yeah.
you know.
The wear and tear on the body,
Yeah.
let alone the just overall risk.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Just like to put bridges.
Yeah, or
under the
bridge,
water.
or I'm sure like those oil rigs.
yeah.
or
The
stuff.
oil rigs and I mean repairs down at the base and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think it would be cool just to go 10 foot underwater and weld. I mean, personally,
Yeah.
I would love to do it, but
Anything more than 10 feet.
I don't know how they build
Yeah.
they build bridges and have those huge things so deep in the water.
I've
Imagine
always wondered
welding.
that.
Like,
Yeah. Like how or what it, like we're supposed to
Like,
yeah,
we drive it, you know, a million cars over this bridge on a daily basis.
yeah.
Like who thought of that?
all I'm thinking is who's the engineer
Isn't it
that's
who
so
thought-
confident that everything's gonna work well, otherwise it's gonna be his fault.
Trust me,
Like,
guys.
Yeah.
you know,
I got this.
Yeah, my clipboard says it's at work.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, you know, you have, I guess, a group of very qualified people that come up with, you know,
Yeah.
the math and,
Yeah.
you know,
When you repair something, when you weld something for repair purpose, let's say there's a tractor that have like things like this. One of them break.
Mhm.
After you repair, does this become stronger than it was before, or it becomes more? Most likely, if something breaks, it's gonna be that same spot that it was repaired.
So okay, so your weld will always be stronger than the base metal.
Okay.
So like or for instance, okay, a 7018 electrode. Okay, the 7018 is 70,000 pounds tensile strength. Okay, regular steel, A36 steel, which is your regular steel that's out there with no alloy in it. It's right around 36 to 42,000 psi. So your weld should never fail before the material would. Depending on what it is, if you get metal too hot, then it can do what's called crystallize the structure, and it can become brittle and prematurely crack. To find those cracks and find if there's any issues even after you weld it, we actually have what's called a dye penetrant, and it's a system of sprays, and it's in an aerosol can, and you spray it, and you wipe it off, and then you put a developer on, and that crack will come out with a big red line with it to where that dye penetrant bleeds back out. So you can see, you know, where it's cracked. Now there's also, you know, there's ultrasound X-ray. There's something called magnaflux. It's basically you magnetize the area and you throw iron powder on it, and the iron powder,
We'll show you the.
from what I understand, the iron powder goes where that magnetic field is compromised. I think, and you know that'll show you the crack. A lot of that's for very, very fine cracks, whether it be in engine blocks or in an I-beam structures. You know, I don't have any experience with Magnaflux, but it's kind of a cool process. But no, your repair should always be stronger. Now, if we run into something where it keeps breaking, well, then we look into it a little deeper, and okay, so something else has got to be going on you know, something's out of whack. You know, it's not even, it's not level, it's not, you know, it just depends on what it is.
Okay.
We run into that with a lot of our cast repairs. We've had really good luck with just the way our process, the way we do cast repairs. And we started doing a new process. It's called, it's flame spray welding. It's a Castellan eutectic powder. It's like an across the seas. Yeah, you get this powder in a bottle, and you have basically a torch, and as you preheat the area to where it gets orange, almost right before melting point, like 2200, 2100 degrees, you spray this on, and instead of creating stress in the cast by welding, you spray this on so it's a very liquid, very fluent puddle, and you're not prone to cracks anymore. When it comes to the penetration into the base metal is better, and you don't have to post heat it or have some type of stress relieving process behind it. And it works great. It's very expensive. The bottle has about 10 different warnings on why you shouldn't put this on your tongue or breathe it. That's a little, you know.
You put it on your tongue yet?
No, I have not.
All right.
No, no. But I mean, it is. It's a very fine powder, and I mean, if you dump it, it plumes into the air. But other than that, I think for, gosh, a pound of it was like $280. I mean, it's a lot. But I mean, it's coming across seas, and you know.
Yeah.
But it's from what we've just started, so we're very new into the process, but it's worked great on everything we've used it for, and we've been able to repair a lot more things confidently, more than just, you know, we can weld it, but it 50-50 chance it might work, it might not. Anybody who's welded cast knows that, you know, I mean, we've repaired holes in engine blocks, and it's been successful. So which is just kind of a, you know, I guess if you put it up on a shelf as a, you know, a trophy, you know, we can do this, but obviously wouldn't be a, you know, a common sense repair, you know. Yeah, throw the motor back in your vehicle and get another 4 months out of it, you know. It's
Right.
But you know, some of the more specific projects like that, we've been able to do a little bit more confidently. So
I keep wanting to ask too. When we were talking earlier, you know, Grandpa would say, "Don't look at this." Why? What is causing a damage, or why?
So what happens is it's and I mean, I guess I don't know like the particular terms behind it, but the light, it actually burns the retinas, and it pulls it creates, it brings, I guess, the zinc and the iron, the way I understand it, and I could be very wrong, but I know I'm close. It pulls the iron out in your eye, and it clumps together, and it dries it out. The only way that I've ever found to reverse that process is you throw potatoes over your eyes.
Have you done that?
Yeah, I do it like
Do you take potatoes in your pocket?
4 or
for
5
jobs?
no,
But you
well,
mean like
4 or
how
5
they-
times
how
a year.
face mask of women will get like
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
yeah,
to
yeah,
recover.
you
slice
just-
of potato.
Yeah, you just kick back in the recliner and you throw some just regular white potatoes in your eyes, and
That's the treatment then.
yeah,
It's not what you need to have while you
yeah,
are
because
well.
the starch in the potato.
He's got potato goggles.
Yeah,
over here.
potato goggles. Yeah, yeah, and we just cut little holes in them and you're fine. But
are those glasses what you should wear if you're doing that? The glasses
yeah,
that you
so
have?
these are. I mean, actually, these. I actually don't even really like these because they're big, but my eyes
They're
are
not potato
sensitive.
glasses.
But yeah, so all these they'll be Z87 rated.
Oh.
So Z87 is ultraviolet ray filtering. So it's supposed to filter out the ultraviolet rays, but if you sit and stare at a weld, I mean, it's like a disco ball everywhere. And it doesn't matter if you close your eyes or not, it's just like a disco party, and there's white spots everywhere. Yeah. And then eventually it goes away, but when you go to sleep at night and your eyes are closed, you'll wake up and it'll feel like the Sandman dumped a whole truckload of sand in your eye. And I mean, you'll want to open your eye, and you physically can't. You'll have to like pull them apart. And the only thing that mitigates that is potatoes, because the starch pulls whatever out. And I mean, you pull the potatoes off, they'll be black. And I mean, it's the craziest thing.
We should do a challenge. You stare at the welder as long as you can.
Yeah, I'll get the potatoes.
And then he'll bring the potatoes.
Yeah, the welder and the potatoes. I'll supply those. Yeah,
That's crazy, man.
yeah.
No, that is nuts. I've heard
Never
of
heard about it.
well, I've heard of people with potato or onion even like on the bottom of your feet because it'll pull.
Yeah, well, see, like coughs and colds and homeopathic whatever. I mean, this stuff really does work. I mean, the onion on the bottom. My grandma used to tell me that, and I mean, sure enough, it works. And you throw an onion and then like wrap it in plastic or whatever, and you get up, the onion be black. And
I've heard of it.
On the bottom of your feet, it'll like pull all of the toxins from your body. Well, not all of them, but like a good chunk.
Putting garlic in your ears too.
I never heard.
I'm just kidding.
I was like, wait, what?
I was waiting for the end of that.
Yeah, you try to get me to go do some dumb
No,
stuff.
all this stuff putting on your feet and put socks on, right? I've heard about it. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never tried it. But,
Yeah, me either.
yeah. So you tried the potato thing though. You've had to do that.
Yeah. I mean, probably. Gosh.
Are we talking russet potatoes or the gold?
Just the
just
regular
potato.
red. No, because the red. I tried reds one night. That's all I had was like just red potatoes, and they would not work. It would not work. You get just regular white. I don't know what they call them. Idaho.
Just Idaho or russet.
Yeah, russet.
The big regular.
Yeah, I mean, you slice them about 1/4 inch thick, and you lay them over your eyes. Maybe put a cold washcloth over. And you try to fall back asleep, and you wake up, and you're just like, pop them off, and yeah, I mean, it really does work.
Interesting.
And there are people they'll try eye drops, and they'll try, eye wash, and I just can't get this feeling out of my eye. It's just throw some potatoes.
But to get to that point, you need to be staring at that thing for so long, right? Like you need
well,
to be
and that
looking at
I mean.
Or maybe continued exposure. You think if he's doing this every day for...
Well, and a lot of times is when if it's me and another guy welding back to back, you can get flash in the back of your hood. And it bounces. There's no way for it to filter. So you can see the other guy weld. Okay, well, you move like that. Well, you do that 20 times a day, and it's inevitable. You're gonna wake up unhappy, and that's why there's always potatoes in my house. So if you ever move next door and you need potatoes, like I got some, but there's always potatoes in my house.
So what do you see yourself here in these next few years as you continue to grow? I know that just from what you've shared, the last year or two has really been some major strides for you in continuing to develop what you're able to do with Morath Welding. But what do you kind of see in the future?
Right now we're trying to get it, which we have done. We're getting pretty heavy into the line boring.
Oh, you mentioned that earlier. Why don't you dummy that down too? Why don't you? What is
so
line
boring is anybody that runs machinery that has bushings, pins, your excavators, dozers, regular just farm tractors, anything that has a pin and a bushing in it. So we'll go in, and when those get wore out, we make those holes true again. And so it's a portable machine that you got a couple bearings, you slide a bar through, and that bar is basically a portable machine shop. And this bar goes in a circle, and it cuts this hole true, and then we'll slide the bore welder in, and this bore welder welds in a circle, and so it welds this hole back up however many passes you need to, and then you'll cut it to the correct size, and you throw the new bushing in, and you have, call it a brand new machine, but you have tight tolerances again, because what causes cracks and failures is vibration and loose parts. It's not as simple as just dropping some weld in there and taking a die grinder, and it's not that simple. And the point of it is to keep both holes completely concentric with each other. That way you have even wear. You have enough room for grease travel, but it's tight enough to where the equipment won't chatter and won't break. We've been doing that for the past 4 or 5 months now. And actually this winter we're going to go down to I believe it's Florida, and we're actually going to go through the school that was offered with the purchase of this equipment. Because we by no means, I'm not going to claim to have 20 years experience of something we just started doing.
Right.
But we'll go down, we'll practice on the machines that are currently in use, and it's in a large shop. They have classes come through all the time. They use this equipment every day. The people teaching this class use this equipment every day. They'll go out of the shop, in the shop, it doesn't matter where. But yeah, so we've been doing quite a bit of that. And fixing like a John Deere, we've done 3 or 4, we call it John Deere 7400 series tractor front ends. And basically if you don't grease them like you should, they wear out. Well, these housings are cast. This cast housing, to buy just the housing, is $9,000 to $10,000. Or you can just cut these holes, take it to someone who has a line boring machine, and you cut these holes straight again, see where you can fit bushings in, and it's the cost of the repair. Well, when you think about replacing the housing, you also have to think about the labor to take it apart. So you're going to have to take it to the dealership. They're going to have to take it apart. They're going to have to put new seals in it when they take it apart. They have install time. That on top of a $9,000, $10,000 housing, you've got labor, you've got parts, you've got, or you can bring it into us and we make it very simple. We put it on jack stands. We run a bar through it, put new bushings in it, and give it back.
See, and that's less downtime.
Yeah.
Once again,
less downtime.
They're able to get back out in the field or get back in the factory, whatever the heck it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can take this machine anywhere. We can line bore anything to an 1.25 inch diameter hole all the way up to a 30-inch hole. I don't want to do a 30-inch hole because you could walk through that. So right. There's a lot of setup in there, and we wouldn't have the experience it takes for a 30-inch. Successfully, we could do anything up to 12, 14-inch hole. You're not going to find a pin very big, for 10, 14-inch hole. That's in more of like your mining equipment, and we don't have a whole lot of mines around here. So, so far it's gone pretty well. But we are getting substantially more busy with that. So.
Yeah, and that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be curious after your trip to Florida and you come back and maybe here in another year or two we could do this again, and who knows where the heck Morath Welding and what other stuff you're doing by then.
Yeah.
You may have an entire crew and learning a whole bunch more of that business side of it.
Yeah. Well, and that's there's not a whole lot of people around here that do it.
Yeah.
And if you do need those repairs and you have to ship your equipment to, I believe it's Missouri. There's a guy about an hour almost 2 hours north of here, I think, that does it. We talk here and there, and yeah, it's just kind of a dying art. You know, a lot of people around here, any manual machinist around here, I mean, is a lot of the guys have gotten older and retired, and
Yeah.
a lot of those guys, they forgot more machining knowledge than I'll probably ever pick up in my life. So, you know, that's going back to, you know, getting into the trades, and, you know, there will be a pretty big shortage from now to even 5 years in the trades, whether it doesn't matter what trade it is. You know, hopefully some of the next generation really takes interest in that, and there'll be a huge gap in between of experience from all the older guys retiring. So,
Well, good for you for you know, taking the step to not only, you know, start your own business, but finding a need and running with it. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. So I love a good story like that. I appreciate you coming and sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
for
absolutely.
coming.
If it was easy, everyone would do it. That's how,
Right?
that's how I
Yeah.
feel. So
Yeah. No,
No.
thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
no, I was excited to kind of just. I like to put stuff like that, very special, you know, small, using terms like I like to just dummy stuff down, and I have no problem asking, you know, to do that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you doing that today, Evan.
Dude, I need stuff dumbed down too. So believe me, yeah, the insurance and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, no, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Hey, folks, it's the Talk About It podcast. It's Evan Morath with Morath Welding. You can look him up on Facebook. He does a pretty good job of sharing some stories and some experiences as he's out there. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
All right. It's a Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
Peace. Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantas,
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
and we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell. It's gonna be right below the video, so you
Hit
guys,
the bell.
so you know when the next episode is up. All
We
right?
appreciate all the support.
Thank you.